The race for the 2023 presidency in Nigeria continues to gather momentum. Rising from a meeting held yesterday in Kaduna State, the Northern State Governors Forum, an umbrella body of 19 elected governors of the North, have signaled its determination to press its advantage and retain power in 2023 against the move of the southern part of the country, which has insisted that the power must shift to the south. The NSGF stated in its position, affirming its rights to stake claim to the presidency in 2023, and unanimously condemned the statement by the Southern Governors Forum that the presidency must go to the south. In a communique issued at the end of the meeting, was read by the chairman of the forum and Governor of Plateau State, Mr. Simon Lalong, insisted that the position of Southern governors on the power shift is contradictory with the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is back and forth, Tundu. Now, we're seeing this game come out in earnest.
Yes, we are, but it's not surprising, is it? Well, speaking personally, I'm not surprised at all. There was always going to be this kind of pushback. But it must be said that the resolutions of the Southern governors are not taken in isolation. If you recall, there have been 3 meetings, first in Asaba, then Lagos, then Enugu. And each time the Southern governors have upped the ante. And they are not doing so in isolation. They're doing that as a response to the response from the North. So unfortunately, what we're seeing is an escalation of tensions. In Asaba, you'll recall that they didn't even talk about the Southern presidency at all. They were talking about the anti-open grazing laws and the kind of sort of patronizing criticism that they got from Northern voices, sort of, I think, enraged them a little bit, such that the next meeting, they now said Nigeria should have a Southern president. And everybody, I don't mean to use a colloquialism that almost just came out of my mouth, they got their knickers in a twist about that in the North. Then the next meeting, you could see the Southern governors continue to even dig their heels in, even more. They now said, we must have a Southern president. So the language is changing in response to the kind of pushback that they're getting from the North. And the North is also responding in exactly the same way, saying what they actually said. They didn't say that, oh, now we must have a president from the North. No, that's not what they said. They said that some Northern governors have said they want a Southern president because of, in the interest of fairness, equity, what have you. However, that was some Northern governors who said that. However, they all unanimously condemn that statement from the Southern governors. So they're still telling the Southern governors how to dot their I's and cross their T's. They're basically marking their communique, going, yeah, that you get a tick for that. No, that's wrong. So I find it very patronizing, actually, but I also find it very interesting because now we're getting to the point where, unfortunately, it's not according to the party, which is what I've always believed about Nigerian politics. It's a party that will determine. It's now the governors. We all know governors are massively important, but Dr. Abati, are they more important than the party in choosing a presidential candidate?
Well, they are no more important than the people of Nigeria, because at the end of the day, it's the people of Nigeria that should choose who should lead them at the center.
But who the party offers is what we choose from.
Yeah, well, that is correct. But in this particular case, the people, civil society, they also have a role to play in the matter. The party cannot stay above the level of the people, and the voice of the people is important. However, Nigeria finds itself in a very peculiar situation. If you read, American media, Western media, they like to talk in terms of North-South divide in Nigeria. Everything is reduced to religion, ethnicity, and geographical divide. What we're doing, because for many years, some of us who are journalists from this part of the world try to tell the American media that, look, your analysis is jaundiced, you divide the country along ethnic and geographical lines. It's far more complex than that. What we have done in this country, as people race towards 2023, is to confirm that stereotype that Nigeria is a divided country, North and South. And I think that, in a sense, the Northern Governors Forum meeting on the key issues of the day simply confirmed that. And we may have lost the moral right to tell American journalists that Nigeria is not radically divided, north-south, along geographical, ethnic, and religious lines. Now, the position that has been taken by the Northern Governors Forum, 19 states in the north, 17 in the south, I guess is understandable. Our country is divided. That's one strong message that has come out. The difference also is that the 19 governors of the North, in coming together, they came with their traditional rulers, led by His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, who is a very enlightened man. So he has put his weight and the weight of the caliphate behind the position of the northern governors. How many traditional rulers ever showed up at the meetings of the 3 meetings held so far by the southern governors? No traditional ruler. So the North, they are sending a message. They are upping the stake. Now, the third thing to take away from that meeting is that even the Middle Belt representatives were there. Plateau and some other states from the Middle Belt, they were in that meeting. What's his name again? The governor of Plateau. Lalong. He is even the chairman of the Governors Forum. He was the spokesperson. You can see that tactical move in terms of trying to debunk some of the signals from the southern part of Nigeria. Now, to the key issues. That meeting addressed the key issues. It's out there in the public domain. One, they say the southern governors are misinterpreting, misrepresenting value-added tax as 6 stars, whereas it is not. There is no time any governor in southern Nigeria had ever said that it was 6 stars. Even the dumbest amongst them had come on air to say it is a consumption tax, right? And the whole argument is that why will you collect consumption tax in Atakumosa and you use it to the advantage of a man in Kaura Namoda? That's the argument. It's not about sales tax, but you see how tactically they've shifted it. Now about rotational presidency. They say, yes, that in the Constitution there is no such thing. Yes, there is no such thing in the Constitution. But the argument about Nigeria, its future, its present, is about equity, justice, togetherness, developing a sense of ownership. And people in the southern part of Nigeria are saying, look, it will make sense to rotate the presidency. It's not about the Constitution. It's about togetherness. It's about national unity. But northern leaders, along with the traditional institution in the North, they are saying that, no, that does not make sense. There are other statements about, development of the country, about unity, about security. Yeah, those ones are in order, perfectly in order. And the northern leaders say they will help to fight criminality, the rise of criminality in parts of the country. But on the key issues of the day, they have made the point that they are not on the same page with the people of the South. Renewable energy, that's not a problem. Anybody can deal with that. But power shift, VAT, the future of Nigeria, there's a clear division in Nigeria. But what we would like to say is that whether these leaders are from the South or from the North, there should be a common interest, the survival of Nigeria, a commitment to save Nigeria. And I hope that the leaders in the southern part of the country will see that the game is on towards 2023 and who leads Nigeria. So in 2023, the North has made it very clear, and it's the same position held by the Northern Elders Forum, by the Arewa Consultative Forum, and we'll see how it goes. What is the problem? Nigeria is not yet a nation because we're a divided people.
Or probably, like Benjamin Desirelli said, 2 nations. That's all. A news headline. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll have Rotu Sudiri, Michael Wilson, Adesu Amoro, and Aaron Akerjala to give us updates on Africa, global business, COVID-19, and sporting activities across the globe. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Morning Show here on Arise News. Our dependable Rotu Sudiri is here to give us an African business update. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Tundu. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning to all our viewers. We kick off with oil prices. Brent crude, take a look. I think on your screen, you should see WTI, West Texas Intermediate for North America. And in the middle there, Brent crude, and then beneath that, natural gas. Well, in the middle, Brent crude has now crossed $80 a barrel. I'll leave the factors up to Michael Wilson to take you through. But what does this mean for us? It means that the landing cost of fuel is going to increase. Now, for the NNPC, they just informed the public in their latest report that so far this year, Nigeria has spent 905 billion naira on fuel subsidies. So January 25 billion, February 60 billion, March 111 billion, April 126, May 114, June 143, July 175, August 149. So we should cross, based on that trend, we should cross a trillion. If my math is correct, we should cross a trillion October, probably do 1.1 trillion November, so 1.2. So we would have done about 1.2, 1.15 trillion naira in fuel subsidies for this year. Now, right before we went to break, Doctor was saying the game is on, right, on who is going to lead this country in 2023. It's frankly going to be political suicide to remove subsidies between now and the election. I'm waiting to see who's going to be, whether the APC is going to be brave enough to do it. Because you have to look, and I know Rufai has been, banging on about, we've all been banging on about subsidies removal for so long, but you have to look at the reality of the circumstances. Inflation at double digits. 7 million people in Nigeria fell into poverty in 2020. There was a Bureau of Statistics, I think United Nations co-reports that showed that 20% or higher than that of businesses closed in 2020. We've seen what is, food prices. So can you really remove a subsidy right now, leading up to an election? Now, on this show, we have said the alternative would be to transfer the savings quickly to a number of, as much of the populace as you can in order to cushion the impact. Whether or not they do that, we have to see. But the NNPC has informed the public that the 149 billion that was paid for under recovery, as they call it, that's going to be deducted from the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC, because there's no provision for subsidy in the 2021 budget, so they've just got to take the money out from there. So, and that's just fuel subsidies. We haven't even gone to the billions of dollars in importing refined fuel into the country. And, what that does with respect to weighing on the on our reserves, which I understand have now risen thanks to the Euro bond, but that's still debt. So, this is just piling on and piling on and piling on and piling on for whoever is going to. Yeah, the game is on for 2023, but there's also ways and means. The central bank line of credit, which is understood to be about 15 trillion or so, that's been extended to the federal government. There's that as well, which they say is going to be securitized or something. You just, yeah. Well, beyond that, let's talk African innovation, shall we? Have businesses in Africa, has African innovation been impactful? Is there a transition from innovation to businesses in Africa? And can businesses on the African continent, point to pockets of innovation and say that we have benefited in our bottom line in terms of profits, or we've increased productivity, or we've sold something that has made a change or a difference in the lives of Africans? There's a Global Innovation Index report. I think we should have the cover on your screen here. The GII 2021 helps create an environment that evaluates innovation factors continuously. In 2021, it provided detailed innovation metrics for 132 economies. It's from the World Intellectual Property Organization, which is a subset of the United Nations. As we take a look at the top 10, this is for the globe now. I'll just give you the metrics. Human capital, Rufai has mentioned this a lot. Human capital and research, infrastructure, market sophistication, business sophistication, knowledge and technology outputs, and creative output. Those are the metrics you use to rank all these economies. So your top 10, Switzerland, Sweden, the United States, the UK, South Korea, the Netherlands, Finland, Singapore, Denmark, and Germany. Let's quickly jump to Sub-Saharan Africa. There's a portion of the report I'd like for you to see here. For Sub-Saharan Africa, only Mauritius at 52nd place and South Africa at 61 were in the top 65. Those are the best placings for African nations as far as global innovation is concerned. Over the last 5 years, you can see that Kenya and Tanzania are the only countries that have made some improvements over the last 5 years. No economy no African economy has steadily showed improvements as far as the index is concerned. And then 10 economies that made some improvement in 2021, Kenya, Namibia, Malawi, Madagascar, Zimbabwe, Burkina Faso, and Cape Verde, 85th, 100, 170. In case you're wondering, Ghana is 112th, and Nigeria is 118. So we got to ask us, the critical question to ask, are we innovative? And if we're innovative, does that transition to business? And if it does transition over to business, how do we feel that innovation? So sitting there watching as a consumer, how has innovation changed things for you? So, I guess we talk about the digital naira from the central bank and what that could do going down the line. But that's our African business update.
Okay.
Okay.
Rufai,
thank you, Dr. Bati. So, Rotus, when I saw that report, I was excited. I was like, yeah, music to my ears. These are the things we've been saying. We talked about how Japan made 39 billion, Nigeria's reserve, from just selling PlayStation game console. We've talked about how the big economies thrive based on research and not this way we are thinking. I think the problem with us, we're thinking the wrong way. Look at Sweden. Look at most of the Scandinavian countries that you have there. Look at Finland. What did they do? 1991, 1992, Finland decided that it is only knowledge-driven economy that can change its country. There was a big breakaway. And Finland started setting up polytechnics. Before you know it, Finland had products like Nokia in the village of Nokia, named after River Nokia, and Ericsson, and companies like that came out of, areas like that. That area, I miss the word now, the Nordic areas, because they invested in research. So look at the companies that are doing things like telecoms, mast, and the likes, are the companies like Ericsson's of this world and some other companies like that. And the thing is, you can actually change and evolve. If you read Capital in the 21st Century by Thomas Piketty was actually arguing that Sweden, as of 1912, had one of the largest Gini coefficients in the world. Sweden used to be even worse than Nigeria. There was so much gap between the rich and the poor, but they changed social mobility through advancements in science and technology, and you can see how it's paying off for them. So you can't grow by thinking of oil. We need to diversify. And you see the wealth of this nation are in those young people that carry computers and code that policemen harass on the streets. That's where the wealth of this nation lies. And we need to look inwards. Not solid minerals, not agriculture. The wealth of this nation is in intellectual development. I hope it sinks in.
Yeah, quickly. To address the concern you have raised about spot price of crude oil, Brent crude, getting close to $80, and how that has created a problem for us in Nigeria. You recall that Mele Kyari, the group managing director of the NNPC, long before now, said that the only safe place we could be in would be for the spot price of Brent crude, to be around $50, $55. And that anything above that will create problems for us. Because here in Nigeria, we do not refine oil. We export crude, the same resource that we have had in this country for centuries. Then we go and buy it from outside the country at great cost to the people. We talk about landing costs, we talk about cost recovery, we talk about under recovery, which is the big irony and the big definition of the oil costs that Nigeria faces. Well, bad news is going to get worse. Goldman Sachs, the analysts at Goldman Sachs have said that, look, by the end of this year, spot price of crude is going to go up as high as $90. It may even go higher. So we're going to have very serious problems. The way the NNPC has tried to address the problem is that it's been balancing out the books by deducting at source, by not giving money to Federation, contributing regular funds to the federal allocation account. And so that will put Nigeria in a very terrible situation. in terms of revenue. What makes it worse is that in all of this, there's no transparency. Nobody knows what the exact figures are. Everybody just relies on what the NMPC says cost recovery constitutes. I think that ordinarily, spot price of crude going up should not be a source of woes and tragedy and jeremiad for Nigeria. It should be some kind of excitement that our product that is right there in Olobiri and all these communities is doing well internationally. But we have not managed it well. So we should be more concerned about, our own crisis at home, our failure in the oil and in the extractive industry, rather than lament about the fact that oil prices are going up. So, however, internationally, the oil industry is facing, some kind of renewal, if you like, renaissance, with regard to demand and supply. With COVID-19 third wave, fourth wave going down, with other developments in the supply chain annex of the world. And if the world continues to recover, should we continue to suffer in Nigeria? We will continue to suffer. We will continue to have revenue problems simply because we have not managed our affairs well. So rather than lament and talk about, what we will lose, what will happen, we should remind ourselves that we are at this point because we have failed to manage that important resource very well.
Which is precisely why I can't summon the Schadenfreude to be crowing at the crisis in the UK. I mean, we're the last people who should be pointing fingers at mismanagement if you're in Nigeria. Their problems would be lucky to have those problems. I'm sorry, I have to say it. This is really very unfortunate. But Rotus, I have to tell you, I'm thinking that since President Buhari is in his final term as president, it's curtains on the Buhari administration as of 2023, should he not be able to summon the political courage to actually, yank off that Band-Aid once and for all? What are you thinking about that? And also, I was following the Kaduna Investment Summit and the theme of a sustainable, knowledge-based economy. And I listened to the Vice President's remarks there. This is exactly what we should be thinking. And as Rufai said, the gold mine is in our youth population that is abused, marginalized, underappreciated, and poorly treated. That's my soapbox for today.
The point well made. If he yanks off that Band-Aid, he has to think of the impact on the party. So the party is not, I don't think they'll let him do that.
Well, but Rotus, before you go, what is the choice option for the Nigerian government? Whether it's a difficult choice or an easy choice? Because, as I said earlier, given the demand-supply calculus that we face in the oil and gas industry internationally, prices are likely to go up. And so, are you going to come back here next week?
Reduce your costs. Your revenues are constrained, so you have to rip off the Band-Aid. You can do it gradually and transfer the savings and to cushion the populace. That's the choice before the federal government.
Or can we get the refineries working?
Oh, refineries.
Would that help?
The NNPC said that refineries won't work until, 48 months from now? So that's you might as well sell them off. As doing Salami suggested, sell off assets.
It has to happen. Well, thank you, Rotus. Thank you for your time this morning. Moving on now to more business updates. Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning, Mr. Wilson.
Good morning. Yes, so the fuel crisis in Britain is threatening not only health workers, but there's panic buying going on, all the rest of it. And it's being seen as a big test of the government, which it's failing right now. And signs of that global energy crunch you were talking about, oil up to $80 a barrel. So let's start off as far as time zones are concerned in Asia Pacific. Very mixed shares there. Economists working for large banks have jointly cut China's GDP forecasts. Goldman Sachs and also Nomura cutting reflecting what the Chinese say they're going to do with regards to their GDP, instead of the 8.2% down to about 7.8%, maybe 7.7%. Again, everyone would like that kind of growth, but these are big targets that the Chinese have set themselves. Evergrande's more or less in the background this morning. Hong Kong shares led the region, generally speaking. Mainland China stocks up slightly more. South Korea is very interesting. They've got a company there which is called SK Innovation, and the shares jumped on the news that the Ford Motor Company is going to invest $11 billion in new US facilities to produce electric vehicles and batteries. So as China brought you all over the past couple of weeks, if not the past couple of months, is cracking down on various sectors, investors are increasingly puzzling ways of what sort of opportunities await them in China. And what they seem to be doing is, this is a quote from one of them, you've got to show that what you're going to invest in or what you're going to build there has got something that China wants and not competitive to its own interests. And leaders of US and European business interest groups said the biggest challenge is still getting visas. This is the actually granular bottom line of things, getting visas for executives and families to move between their global corporations and China. US, the Dow Jones climbing again yesterday. I think really the better news or the bigger news out of the United States is that two more Fed. I'm sorry, I'm getting an echo. Are you trying to speak to me?
Do go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Shall I? Oh, okay, fine. Perhaps you could just ask your gallery to turn off the microphone to cut the echo. It'd make life a lot easier if that's at all possible. Thank you. Two Fed governors, Lael Brainard, John Williams, are actually increasing their hawkish stance. And Jay Powell is going to testify later today about his moves towards tapering. Europe still heads for relatively positive gains today, but what they're trying to do is to work out what the fallout from the German election is going to be. The main coalition parties will be probably talking about this for a couple of months. Meanwhile, small business really needs to work that out. Okay, to the UK, if the crisis deepens, it threatens health services and also industries. Essential workers and transport companies are seeking priorities. The military's on standby. Again, we are being assured that it's not about the fact there is no fuel. It's actually getting the fuel to the actual stations, the fuel stations, the garages, garage forecourts, so that people can actually fill up. And the news is that all MPC members are now ready to raise interest rates if it's necessary. So 8,000 petrol stations are in this country. The majority of those have actually run dry. British Medical Association said that health workers could be suffering, courier companies, taxi companies, and all the rest of it. So the government is under pressure to get a grip about this, and not just to say don't panic, but to actually do something. As you know, I told you to loosen competition law over the weekend to try to cooperate, so companies so they can cooperate and restock. And it's also loosened restrictions on foreign HGV drivers, but that'll take time to actually happen. Shell and other fuel distributors think that this kind of panic buying will recede towards the weekend as more people are driving around with fuller tanks, but still, I don't know about that, we'll see, but it's still seen as a crucial test of the government. I've got some breaking news for you, which has just come in, which is that one of the big rail companies in the UK is going to be taken over by the government, apparently due to a serious breach of what's been described as good faith. More than £25 million of historic payments due to the Department of Transport not been declared. Commodities, therefore, this is important too, of course. Oil getting above maybe $80 a barrel, certainly at $80 a barrel. We're going to get OPEC's world view later today, but we're talking about a global gas shortage, and we're also talking about China and its anti-pollution drive as well, and gold is treading water. So that's the global view this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
All right, Michael, there's a band called Coldplay. They had a song out, I think it was 98, 99, called Don't Panic. I'm sure if you ask the band members, they'll panic now about what is happening as regards, the shortages in the UK. Not only petrol shortages, supply line shortages in supermarkets and everything. It is bonkers. It is time for Boris Johnson to come out and take responsibility for that. Just like the Chinese leader should come out and take responsibility for power cuts in China. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shell-shocked that as a Nigerian, you look up to China a lot, and there are power cuts in 11 provinces that might affect the GDP 0.15% will shave off that GDP because of power cuts in China. When will leaders take responsibility?
They're politicians, so they won't, of course. No politician, unless they're very stupid, takes responsibility. Here's the thing that needs to be done. It's the question of how you actually manage panic. That is the key question. I've got this echo again. I do apologise. Could you turn the microphone off in the gallery? That would help a great deal. Thanks very much. Okay, so you've got that up. We know there are perfect storms around the world at the moment. But the crucial thing about all this is, sorry, could you please turn the microphone off in the gallery? Thank you. I'm getting a echo in my ear. Thank you. Right. So what? No, I'm still getting that echo. I can't actually speak to you if I still have the echo in my ear. But I'll go ahead in any case. It's a question really, do you want just in case or do you want just in time? That's the thing. At the moment, most developed economies exist on just in time supply chains. You are going to get consumer panic. It's all about trust. If you don't trust the politicians in charge, then you're going to get consumer panic. Look what's happened in Greece, for example, when it was thought that the ECB was running away with the money and wasn't, and the EU was also not concerned about its debt. The chap in charge there, Mario Draghi, he's now in charge of Italy, saying, we will do whatever it takes to make sure that your money is safe. The queues disappeared. Similarly with Northern Rock in this country as well. There were queues around the block as people were trying to take money out of the bank. The bank said no, the government said no, we will guarantee this. So it's really a question of trust. There isn't trust at the moment. It's what consumers are all about. They exist on just in time. The feeling is that this will dissipate once people are going around with full fuel tax. It might not. Who knows? But that's the crucial thing. It's not so much the Schadenfreude's all right, the Schadenfreude and looking at global things, but it really is somebody coming forward, not just taking responsibility, but actually getting a grip and fixing it and working how you get in the way and you stop consumer panic. That's what needs to be done right now, and that's clearly not succeeding. It doesn't succeed in any country which has a free government. If you're like China and you just cut off the power, that's fine. That's not happening here. It doesn't happen in a consumer society.
Well, Michael, with regard to the UK, the crisis that the UK faces, the winter of discontent, or to borrow Andrew Bailey's phrase at the Society of Economics annual dinner yesterday, the plague of locusts. If you look at it, what is the measurement in terms of the impact that we have had so far on the UK economy, and how long will it last? I mean, retailers are hiking prices, so much disruption within the system. And Olaf Scholz, the incoming German Chancellor, as we hope, is saying that all of this is because the UK left Brexit. So what do you think of that? Is Olaf Scholz just showing off, or he has a point by saying that the pain in the United Kingdom is self-inflicted? And then very quickly, Goldman Sachs has downgraded the projection in terms of growth for China from about 8.6% to 6.2% on account of the power shortages. What will be the long-term implications in that regard? I mean, how far-reaching would these power shortages in northern China be?
China first. I think I'm much more worried about Evergrande actually, and the property boom there, and the property crisis, and so on, and all those empty apartments and the debt that's not been paid. I think the growth figures are one thing. I mean, we always take growth figures out of China with a pinch of salt, and I think we do take growth figures out of Goldman Sachs and all people who are looking outside into an economy that they think they know a lot about, but actually is relatively opaque. So I think it's absolutely right. I think the markets reacted just as you would expect they would, and that's where we are now. As far as Brexit's concerned, yes, I think that's certainly a contributory factor. as also is the worldwide increase in energy prices, which is affecting supply chains as it does. It's fine for the new German Chancellor. And let's remember, that's not necessarily decided at the moment. It may be him, but of course there's loads of coalition, loads of deals to be done. It's not just about Brexit. It's a lot about this perfect storm of supply chains, of freight costs going up, and all those kind of things. I think it's a bit to do with Brexit. I don't think it's the whole thing to do with Brexit. I'm not surprised that the new Chancellor, whoever he or she may well be, is criticising Britain for getting out of a club that they feel as though Germany, particularly, given it's the powerhouse, is clearly thinking it's paying for its laggard members as well. How that's actually sold to domestic voters, I think this is partly what you're hearing right now. I think it's politics writ large.
Well, thank you, Michael. But for me, as a Nigerian, it's quite amusing to see that in the United Kingdom, retailers are hiking pump prices of fuel, quite familiar here in Nigeria, and to see that people are abandoning their cars and everybody is jumping into public transport, something we have experienced very well here. And I keep saying, well, to manage this, maybe the United Kingdom needs Nigerian expertise in how to manage panic buying and how to manage a situation like this. But it simply means one thing. We are a common human.
If you care to put an expert in touch with how to stop panic buying, I think that would be very gratefully received.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Fine. Enough of the Anglo-German Dutch and dogfight now. We'll go to COVID-19 pandemic this morning, but it's a special morning because today is Adeso Moro's birthday. And happy birthday to you as you present this morning. Happy birthday. Wish you the best.
Okay, maybe we should start with the birthday song. Well, I don't know how my voice sounds when I sing. Tundu, and we have a birthday song for the Queen of Edo Kingdom.
All together now, and that includes you guys.
Okay.
Even though you're not on air.
Okay.
Baby is here, Odion and Sam. I just saw wishing you happy birthday. Okay. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Adesua. Happy birthday to you. Hey, Pepe!
Hooray!
Okay, Adesua, over to you now. Shoot your shot.
I'm truly honored, guys. I'm truly honored to get Dr. Abati to sing on international TV. That is so cute. Thank you so much,
serenaded by Dr.
Thank
Abati.
you, Rufai. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Abati. I work with the best team. That shows it again this morning. But let's go to the COVID-19 update. Unfortunately, it's not a good birthday gift for me. I thought by now the pandemic would have been sort of over, but we're still in the thick of it. And scientists are racing against the ever-changing trend of this pandemic. Yesterday, I told you that there's now a study into organ damage by long COVID by scientists in Oxford. Well, let me also tell you that in the last 24 hours, pharmaceutical giant Pfizer has joined a growing list of companies now testing a pill to ward off COVID-19 from those who come in close contact with those who have been infected. So if you have a family member, should this pill work? If you have a family member and you take it, you probably will be protected from getting the virus. But till date, the COVID-19 has infected over 232 million people and has killed 4.7 million others. And so far, 6.1 billion doses of the vaccines have been administered. Here in Nigeria, 262 cases and 12 COVID-19 related deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. But let me tell you that the agency in charge, the NCDC, says there is a backlog of infections and deaths from two states in South Nigeria, and they are Delta and Edo State. They reported a large number of infections as backlog as well as deaths. And it was a mix of some good news and some bad news at the latest Presidential Steering Committee briefing yesterday here in the nation's capital. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, who is also the chairman of that steering committee, revealed that the country is set to receive some over 3.5 billion doses of Pfizer vaccines from the United States this month. So fingers crossed, because we have barely just a day to go this month. And while 4 million doses of AstraZeneca is being expected early next month, he also says Nigeria will be receiving over 1 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccines on a monthly basis. Let me remind you that the Johnson & Johnson vaccines were purchased by the Nigerian government, and they have an agreement. It only comes to the country on a needs-to basis, so that we just don't have them here sitting fallow. So once we're done with what we have, because we paid for them, we can detect the tune as to when those vaccines arrived. Still on the briefing, the NPHCDA also reiterated that vaccines being administered in Nigeria is recognized by the UK government. However, not much detail and clarification was made on the statement issued by the British High Commission in Abuja days ago. We know Nigeria is now moving from the amber list to the rest of the world list come October 4. However, some of those travel requirements remain in place, and we do not have so much clarifications yet. But we are told it's a phased procedure, and we'll keep our fingers crossed as well. The agency responsible for the vaccination, which is the NPHCDA, also revealed that 1.8 million people have now been fully vaccinated with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines, while over 66,000 others have been fully vaccinated with the Moderna vaccines. And we are likely to see the involvement of private sector in driving up vaccinations in Nigeria. It says it will be systematically phased. Now, to some bad news from that briefing yesterday, we were told that airport officials are said to be conniving with travelers to evade quarantine, and travelers are also procuring fake vaccine cards. The government says investigation is ongoing and it will prosecute those found culpable. We cannot stress how dangerous this trend is because of the risk of export and import of this virus and its more transmissible variant in other parts of the world. So this is dangerous, not just to the travelers coming with them, but the rest of us who are in the country, even though the virus can be locally transmitted. More often than not, it is imported or exported. Moving away from that briefing to Benin City, the Edo State capital, civil society organizations and students yesterday reportedly protested against the Edo State government vaccine mandate for workers. The protesters, who grounded vehicular movement around the city, carried placards bearing various inscriptions, including "We need security in Edo, not vaccine. We will resist any executive rascality. Hunger is killing us, not COVID. And share COVID-19 palliatives, amongst others." But in spite of this protest, the state government has announced that there's a gradual decrease in number of COVID-19 infections because of the increase in vaccination in the state. So that's a tough one the government needs to balance out there. And out of Nigeria, finally, President Joe Biden of the United States has received his booster jab in the White House. This is his third dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. It comes after authorities announced last week that Americans over 65 and frontline workers and those eligible for the vaccines because of their exposure can get a booster shot. It also comes on a day the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken revealed that he has tested negative. There was a scare because the White House spokesperson Ned Price actually tested positive, and there's been a lot of meetings with the United Nations General Assembly ongoing, but U.S. Secretary of State is negative, and the president has taken his booster jab.
Well, let's start. Okay, Tony, let's go ahead.
Right. So on the Edo State story, what the placards were reading, I thought about Dr. Abati, is nobody listening. We need more of a carrot approach than the stick approach. That give us COVID palliatives, hunger is our problem, seems to suggest to me that Dr. Abati's theory about if people are given jollof rice or whatever it is that they like to eat, they're more amenable to getting jabbed than trying to coerce them. That simply will not work. This is not China, where you do have to do exactly as you're told by your government. And as for the other story about airport connivance, well, surprise, surprise, hardly. I recall you brought a story about how I believe it was a website or something that was having problems such that travelers could not pay from abroad for their test, and they were now required to pay in Nigeria rather than just fix the problem. And I remember being completely appalled, and this is why. The travelers will not pay for any tests when they get to Nigeria. They're just going to slip somebody a little something, and that'll be that. And that's how it can get an influx of COVID positive people coming in to infect the rest of us. It's an absolute disaster. And thank you for highlighting that.
Well, okay, let me take it off from where Tonu left it. And that has to do with the briefing by the Presidential Steering Committee. It was made clear by the chairman of the Presidential Steering Committee that that briefing this week will be the last that Dr. Ihekweazu will attend as Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, as he goes off to become the main person at the WHO in terms of monitoring emergencies and pandemics around the world. And the congratulations, the commendations offered Dr. Ihekweazu, who oversaw the Ebola and the coronavirus process in Nigeria, the management, the control of it, the scientific and technological part of it. I think all those commendations are in order. I would like to use this opportunity to wish Dr. Ihekweazu very well. He has served his country very well, and we have no doubt that he will also prove himself as a Nigerian diamond within the international community. Yes, other issues were brought up. Dr. Adetifa, who is the man stepping into Ihekweazu's big shoes, was also introduced. And we hope that Adetifa, who we were told is understudying within the period, his predecessor, will also live up to expectations because he's stepping into very big shoes. He has great credentials. But it's one thing to have great credentials. It's another thing to be able to step up to the game. And at this time, Nigeria faces public health crisis, not just with regard to COVID-19, also with regard to cholera, malaria, and other issues of public health concern that have shown up. But Adetifa, I hope, will not disappoint us. There were other issues about the need for Nigerians not to be complacent, the need for Nigerians not to panic about the classification, the UK travel advisory, and how all of a sudden we're going to get more vaccines, 3.5 from Pfizer. About another 4 million from another source, and then the Johnson & Johnson also giving us another 1-point-something million doses. But how Nigeria manages all of that is what is important. Now, you raised the point about the protesters in Edo. There's a legal dimension to it. There was a case taken to a high court, a federal high court in Port Harcourt by a guy called Charles Osanetin. He was represented by Ezechona Etiaba, SAN. And on August 30, they managed to get an injunction. The court ruled that there should be a status quo observed, that should be observed, until the determination of the substantive suit before the court. Now, the Obaseki government in Edo State had served notice that by the second week of September, they will start enforcing the COVID mandate in that state. Okay, the question is the state government ignoring that court ruling? That's one question. That's one legal question. The second leg of it will be as follows. Does the state have a responsibility to impose a COVID mandate in Edo State? That's another question. As for, some of the other issues that we raised, hello? Okay, it looks like we don't have enough time. Looks like we don't have enough time to do more talk, so let me leave it there. Okay.
Adesua, happy birthday once again. Wish you the very best, and let's move on.